Talkback off.
Hello everyone on YouTube and welcome back to another video. And in this video, we're going to be setting up a Debian installation. Now I have Debian as an ISO file at the moment. So what we're going to do is get Debian installed onto a USB stick, the bootable version anyhow, and then install it on another computer. So here's how we do it. The first thing you're going to want to do is open an app called Berliner Etcher.
Start with E. Stay left Ethernet settings. System set.
Now I've actually upgraded the installation of Windows 10 that I did in the previous video. If you've watched that, I've actually upgraded that to Windows 11, and we're going to use Berliner Etcher on that version of Windows 11 to create a USB stick which we can use to install Debian on another system. So here's how we go about doing it.
Start with the Berliner Etcher app. Press right.
I've personalized my copy of Windows now.
Inbox Mozilla Thumb Etcher main landmark graphic clickable button.
Now the first thing you're going to want to do is look for a button that says
Button flash from file.
Flash from file. Click that.
Open dialog.
Go into your downloads folder, like I'm doing here.
Items today. Audio real audio. Debian live 11.2.0 and 64 made non-free ISO 1 of 3.
And here is our ISO file.
Etcher document. Button unavailable. Flash from file.
Now, the next thing you're going to want to do.
Button room 3.3. Button select target. Button unavailable. Flash.
You can't just flash straight away because it wants to know where you want to flash it. So click the button that says select target.
Button select target. Clickable.
And here,
clickable heading level 3 select target. Heading level 3 1 found.
It's found one.
Checkbox not name. Size location blank. Link show 1 bit. Button cancel. Button select. Button link show 1 hidden.
It's found one. So I'm going to have to install my USB, which currently has a copy of Windows 11 on it.
New Dropbox window. Dropbox with Etcher document.
And Dropbox obviously wants to look for photos and videos. Honestly, if you ask me, it's time to ditch Dropbox and use a different cloud storage. But I use Dropbox anyway because I have with this computer I got a 100 gigabyte promotion with it. So. And then once it's over, I'm switching to a different cloud storage provider altogether.
Button select target.
Okay, let's click the select target button now.
Clickable.
And we should have our USB available.
Clickable heading level 3 select target. Heading level 3 2 found.
Here we go.
Name. Location blank. Checkbox link USBs and disk.
Here's our USB. Click on enter on this. And then
link 30 point link D. Link show 1 button cancel. Button select 1.
Click select. Now you'll know you've selected the right disk because in Windows it shows the file path. In my case, my USB stick is in the D drive. That's how it is by default in Windows.
30.8 G button flash.
And now all you've got left to do now is flash. So once we click flash, it'll begin writing our USB.
Flash button.
So now this is going to spend the next few minutes writing Debian to our USB, and we can check the progress. So it's on 0 at the moment. That means it's only just started. Now, depending on your operating system, a few things may happen. On a Mac, you may be asked for your administrator password. So type that in. And mostly, if you've got UAC set up on Windows, you'll get one of those prompts come up. So just click on yes when you do get one of those. And on Linux, you just have to type in your root password. Needless to say, you must be logged in as an administrator when performing this action. So to summarise, what this program is essentially going to do is make sure that our USB stick is bootable with the disk image we just flashed to it. And my intention here is to show off a flashing process but also the installation process for Debian, because it's actually pretty cool. If you watched my Arch installation video back in October, then it's essentially somewhat similar, except this is much easier because you're dealing with a system that is easier to install in Arch, if you ask me, because it gives you more context and tells you what's going on. Now, this particular version of Debian I've installed comes with non-free firmware and also has a desktop system. So it will install the chosen desktop system because I chose the desktop before downloading the installer image, if you will. So let's see how we're doing with this.
Azure-76 flashing.
And look at that, we're on 76. This USB SanDisk is pretty fast, and the overall computer, that's also a pretty decent computer as well. So once our USB stick is flashed, we're going to bring it over to another computer, and then we're going to install Debian from that. And I'm hoping my phone has enough charge to show off the installation. Otherwise, it's not going to be really helpful if my phone dies while I'm filming. So you'll get a notification in a bit to let you know that you can now remove your USB stick and it has been flashed. Windows won't be able to mount the partitions anyway, so you'll be able to eject them. It's the same on a Mac, except on a Mac you can just click eject. Now we're going to be using my old Lenovo to install Debian on. It's currently got a copy of Cloud Ready on it. Now, while installing Debian, you must, and I can't stress this enough, you must have an Ethernet cable with you. Because it's a lot quicker and easier. You can set up Wi-Fi after the installation. But this ensures we don't have any problems during the installation. And the Debian installer is not that particularly good with Wi-Fi. Oh, and by the way, it goes without saying, don't install Debian stable on the newer computer. It'll be alright on a computer that's at least 3 years old, hence my old Lenovo. And if you do plan on installing Debian on a brand new system, I highly recommend you go for a testing snapshot. Even if it's an old one, because you'll still be tracking stable. If you download a testing snapshot of Bullseye, you'll actually be tracking Debian stable anyway, because that old snapshot was from when Bullseye was in Debian testing. So it's actually going to contain the hardware enablement packages from testing, but you'll be tracking the stable distribution rather than the testing distribution. So let's just check our USB.
Sure.
And look at that, Debian is already ready for us to boot.
Inbox Mozilla Thunderbird.
So this computer is no longer needed. I'm going to remove the USB from that computer, unplug my phone from the USB, and bring it over to the computer we're going to be installing Debian on. Now the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that the computer you plan to install Debian on is fully set up. So put the USB in the drive like this. That's what I always do. Ignore all those. I know my desk is cluttered. But what you're going to want to do is, I'm going to get the Ethernet cable out of my Mac and put it in this computer. Well, actually, I need to get a really good position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my phone here for now.
Selection replace theory. Downloads window list view table. DMG disk image. 96.6 megabytes. Disk image. Yesterday at 23:15. Selected.
Let me just make sure that I'm still recording, because now our equipment is all fully set up.
Talkback on. Camera. Zoom 1. Zoom. Zooms. Zoom. Zoom. Zoom 4. Zoom. Zooms. Zoom 1. Zoom 0. Switch. Stop. Pause. Button.
Okay, we're still recording.
Double tap to talkback off.
We are still recording. Good. Now we need to get our computer to boot into our Debian installation. Now there's two ways of going about this. If you've got usable vision, then you can go ahead and use the Calamares installer, which is included on the live image. You boot that up and select try Debian, and you can install it that way. But for us who are visually impaired, I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm going to boot this computer up and keep spamming F12 until the computer beeps at me. And as soon as we boot up our Debian image, it will start beeping at us. So I need to press the down arrow key 7 times. And suffice it to say, it wants to boot into Neverware's Cloud Ready. I think I remember setting it up to do it 8 times. Now what normally happens is once you start booting your Debian installation media, it beeps 2 times. And then from there, you've got a few options that you can choose from. So let me boot into my Debian USB. Again, what's with Cloud Ready? I chose to install it Debian and Debian only. I guess this computer is stuck permanently on Cloud Ready then. Now, for those who don't know what Cloud Ready is, it's basically an unofficial port of Chromium OS to run on normal PCs. I've done videos of this before. I've done videos of Cloud Ready before, but to me, it's an unofficial port of Chrome OS. Even though it's been bought by Google, I still class it as unofficial. Either Debian is no longer compatible with Secure Boot, or something is wrong. So let me try 6 times. No, it's trying to boot into Cloud Ready. Yep. There we go. Here we are in our Debian installation media. Now, to boot with speech, you simply press the down arrow key 5 times and press enter. And if you've got multiple sound cards, you'll hear speech coming out of one of those. Just press enter on the one you want. So any minute now it will start speaking to us.
Please type enter to use this soundboard.
I'm going to press enter on that.
Select a language. Choose the language to be used for the installation process. The selected language will also be the default language for the installed system. Language.
Now I'm going to turn this up.
6, 7, 8, 9.
And for my language, for English UK, that's number 20. Now, to select any item within lists, you just simply type the number of the item. This is text-based, so I'm going to press enter.
Select your location. The selected location will be used to set your time zone and also, for example, to help select the system locale. Normally this should be the country where you live. This is a short list of locations based on the language you selected. Choose other if your location is not listed. Country, territory or area. 1. Antigua and Barbuda. 2. Australia.
Now for the United Kingdom, it's number 15.
1. 5.
Now if you're in the US, you just listen carefully for yours. So I'm going to go press enter on the one I've chosen.
Configure the keyboard. Keymap to use. 1. American English. 2. Albanian. 3.
I want to use British English, and that's number 12.
1. 2. Detecting hardware to find installation media. 2%, 95%, 100%. Scanning installation media. 2%, 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%, 100%. Loading additional components. 0%, 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%, 100%. Detecting network hardware. 2%, 95%, 100%.
Now this can vary, but I'm going to show you what happens on a system like mine.
Detect network hardware. Some of your hardware needs non-free firmware files to operate. The firmware can be loaded from removable media, such as a USB stick or floppy. The missing firmware files are @10k/recalpci0000001:00.0 bin @10k/calpci0000001:00.0 bin. If you have such media available now, insert it and continue. Load missing firmware from removable media. 1. Yes. 2. No prompt. For help, default 1.
Okay, so it's asking us to load non-free firmware, but since this is a non-free firmware ISO I downloaded, if we press 2, it's going to load what it already has. In this case, this is the firmware for my Wi-Fi card.
2.
But we're not going to be using Wi-Fi during the installation.
Space.
So we're going to let it load that. For other people, this may move on to the next phase of the installation, which is the network setup. Assuming your PC doesn't need non-free firmware, or you're installing in a virtual machine. So,
detecting link on N20, please wait. 0%, 16%, 25%, 33%, 41%, 50%. Configure the network. Your system has multiple network interfaces. Choose the one to use as the primary network interface during the installation. If possible, the first connected network interface found has been selected. Primary network interface. 1. N20. Realtek Semiconductor Co. Limited. RTL 810X CPCI Express Fast Ethernet Controller. 2. WLP10.
Now I want to click number 1 because that's my wired connection. So I'm going to go for number 1. If you know what you're doing with Wi-Fi, you can click the option, but I'm going to go connect via Ethernet temporarily until the installation is finished.
Detecting link on N2 0. Please wait. 0%, 16%, 25%, 33%, 41%, 50% waiting for link local address. 8%, 16%, 25%, 33%. 100% attempting if 6 auto configuration. 8%, 16%, 25%, 33%, 41%, 50%, 66%, 75%, 83%, 91%, 100% configuring the network with DHCP. 4%, 100%. Please enter the host name for this system. The host name is a single word that identifies your system to the network. If you don't know what your host name should be, consult your network administrator. If you are setting up your own home network, you can make something up here. Host name. Prompt. For help, default Debian.
I'm going to stick with Debian. This is the name of your computer. You can tap what you want here, so I'm going to press enter.
Space. The domain name is the part of your internet address to the right of your host name. It is often something that ends in .com, .net, .edu, or .org. If you are setting up a home network, you can make something up, but make sure you use the same domain name on all your computers. Domain name. Prompt. For help.
Now for the domain name, we're going to leave that blank.
Set up users and passwords. You need to set a password for root, the system administrative account. A malicious or unqualified user with root access can have disastrous results, so you should take care to choose a root password that is not easy to guess. It should not be a word found in dictionaries, or a word that could be easily associated with you. A good password will contain a mixture of letters, numbers and punctuation, and should be changed at regular intervals. The root user should not have an empty password. If you leave this empty, the root account will be disabled, and the system's initial user account will be given the power to become root using the sudo command. Note that you will not be able to see the password as you type it. Root password.
Now, I strongly recommend that you don't use the root account and keep that disabled, because, again, malware can have access to that account. And by the way, this is not your initial user account, so we're going to leave this blank.
Please enter the same root password again to verify that you have typed it correctly. Re-enter password to verify.
This is just like the Arch install, so I'm going to press enter, and then we start creating our own user.
A user account will be created for you to use instead of the root account for non-administrative activities. Please enter the real name of this user. This information will be used, for instance, as default origin for emails sent by this user, as well as any program which displays or uses the user's real name. Your full name is a reasonable choice. Full name for the new user. Prompt.
I'm just going to tap in my. I'm just going to type my first name.
J-O-R-A. Select a username for the new account. Your first name is a reasonable choice. The username should start with a lowercase letter, which can be followed by any combination of numbers and more lowercase letters. Username for your account. Prompt. For help, default Jordan.
I'm going to press enter.
A good password will contain a mixture of letters, numbers and punctuation, and should be changed at regular intervals. Choose a password for the new user.
And now I'm going to tap in my password. I have to say, the folks over at Debian have made a really good installer, especially from an accessibility standpoint.
Please enter the same user password again to verify you have typed it correctly. Re-enter password to verify.
Type that in again.
Setting up the clock. 0%, 10%. 100%, detecting disks and all other hardware. 2%, 95%, 100%, loading additional components. 12%, 25%, 37%, 50%, 62%, 75%, 87%, 100%, loading additional components. 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%. 20%. Starting up.
I have a reminder for Calmono.
13%, 22%, 31%, 40%, 50%, 63%, 72%, 81%, 90%, 100%. Partition disks. The installer can guide you through partitioning a disk using different standard schemes, or, if you prefer, you can do it manually. With guided partitioning, you will still have a chance later to review and customize the results. If you choose guided partitioning for an entire disk, you will next be asked which disk should be used. Partitioning method 1. Guided, use the largest continuous free space.
Now this is for our partitioning. Now what I'm going to do is, I want to make sure that I'm still recording.
Talkback on. Zoom 1, 0. Switch, stop, pause, button. Talkback off.
There we go. I honestly don't like the Samsung camera because it's copying iOS. Anyway, for this installation I want to do a fresh install of Debian, so I'm going to go click 2, which is the use entire disk.
2.
So this is for the partitioning section. A lot of people get nervous about this.
Note that all data on the disk you select will be erased, but not before you have confirmed that you really want to make the changes. Select disk to partition. 1. SCSI 1000 SDA 1.0 TB Artisan.
That's the one I want to use. It's an ATA hard drive. So I'm going to go click enter on that.
Space selected for partitioning. SCSI 1000 SDA Artisan 1000 LM035-1RK1 1.0 TB. The disk can be partitioned using one of several different schemes. If you are unsure, choose the first one. Partitioning scheme 1. All files in one partition recommended for new users.
All the others you can just ignore unless you're advanced. So I'm going to click number 1. All files in one partition. Recommended for new users.
Guided partitioning 20%, 40%, 60%, 80%. This is an overview of your currently configured partitions and mount points. Select a partition to modify its settings, file system, mount point, etc. A free space to create partitions, or a device to initialize its partition table. 1. Guided partitioning 2.
Now all the others are not important. You don't need to use those unless you really need to. They're for advanced users. So I'm going to click number 18, which will go ahead and start partitioning. And this next dialog will sound familiar, particularly if you've installed Ubuntu in the past and you've used Ubuntu. Because Ubuntu is based on Debian and we're installing Debian. So this should sound familiar, this next warning we're about to get.
If you continue, the changes listed below will be written to the disks. Otherwise, you will be able to make further changes manually. Warning: this will destroy all data on any partitions you have removed as well as on the partitions that are going to be formatted. The partition tables of the following devices are changed. SCSI 1000 SDA. The following partitions are going to be formatted. Partition 1 of SCSI 1000 SDA as ESP. Partition 2 of SCSI 1000 SDA as X4. Partition 3 of SCSI 1000 SDA as swap. Write the changes to disks. 1. Yes. 2. No.
I want to write yes.
1.
1 is yes, and it will begin installing.
Partitions formatting. 33%. Partitions formatting. Partitions formatting.
So those partitions are being formatted.
Installing the system. 0%.
And here we go. The initial installation is about to start. Now, important notice, if you are using a virtual machine, before you start using this installer, you need to boot into the live environment, switch Orca on, install Gnome disk utility, and create a partition which the installer will recognize. Otherwise, it's not going to install. I've had that happen to me before, so that's how I've done this in virtual machines. And oh, by the way, if you're installing a BIOS system, you'll be asked where you want to install the bootloader. This won't happen if you're installing on a UEFI based system, like this computer here. And this is the for those who don't recognise this computer, this is the laptop I used during the Linux Mint and the accessible Coconut installation videos I've done. And after this installation video, all my other Linux installation videos are going to be done in virtual machines, just like the Arch Linux installation video. So this will take a while. I am on a hard disk after all. Yours might be quicker because if you've got an SSD. Assuming that computers there will be some SSD based computers of the year that this is recommended for. Debian Stable is not recommended for new systems. It's recommended you use something like Linux Mint or Ubuntu or Fedora or heck, even Arch Linux, assuming you can turn secure boot off. Now the good thing about Debian is it supports secure boot, both in the installer and in the installed system. I mean, I tried installing Debian on my Aspire 5, but after I tried booting into it, it just wouldn't boot after it restarted. But I have never had any problems installing Debian on this computer. It's always been a solid system. So we're at 10% on the installation. This does take a while, I must admit. But I want you to experience what it's like to actually install this yourself. Again, your mileage may vary. It does depend on your computer and your CPU. If it takes any longer, I'm going to get one of my keyboards to play a few of its demo songs. I've got one right next to me here, the PSR 8000, released all the way back in 1997. Speaking of the 90s, this is the oldest maintained Linux distribution. For those who don't know about Debian, Debian has been around since 1993. And its current project leader is visually impaired, so I'm so glad that there is such dedication to accessibility in this Linux distribution. Now, you'll find out why the accessibility in Debian is just so good once we boot into
20%.
Once we boot into the installed system. Now we're on 20% at the moment.
%.
Okay, this seems to be going pretty well. I thought this was going to take a while. Now, unlike the Arch install that we did back in October of 2021, this won't spit out any nonsense that we don't want to hear, like terminal output, because we don't want to hear all that, do we? Debian just
40%
gets out of the way and lets you concentrate on something else. If you're sat there waiting for Debian to install, like me,
50%.
I suggest you go and get a cup of tea, because this does take a while, and come back once the installer requests you do something else, because this can
60%.
this can be daunting for a few people. And I'm not gonna lie, I've had to wait a heck of a long time for a Debian system to be installed. Now, if you're installing from the net install,
70%.
the network installer, you'll be asked what desktop environment you want. But since I downloaded a live image focusing on the Mate desktop, it's going to install the Mate desktop for me, so I don't have to do anything else. But of course you can download based on GNOME, KDE, XFCE,
80%.
Cinnamon, Budgie, LXQT. There's all sorts of desktop environments out there. I could name hundreds. But just install the one that suits you best is what I'm going to say. In my opinion, Mate, because it's accessible. And it's based on the classic Gnome too. And we get a vanilla Mate out the box as well, we don't get any customizations. And unlike the latest version of Ubuntu LTS, we're actually running a newer version of Orca, 3.38.2, unlike in Ubuntu where we're running 3.36.2. And we don't get distorted audio.
100%, configuring app, 5%, 11%, 22%, 33%, configure the package manager. A network mirror can be used to supplement the software that is included on the installation media. This may also make newer versions of software available. Use a network mirror. 1. Yes 2. No prompt.
Now what's just happened is Debian has actually been installed right now, but it's unbootable at this stage. It can't be booted yet. It wants a network mirror, and I recommend you do use a network mirror for your Debian repositories. I'm going to click 1 for yes.
The goal is to find a mirror of the Debian archive that is close to you on the network. Be aware that nearby countries, or even your own, may not be the best choice. Debian archive mirror country. 1. Enter information manually.
I've installed Debian on countless systems, so countless times, so I know my country is number 65.
6.
65 for the UK.
Please select a Debian archive mirror. You should use a mirror in your country or region if you do not know which mirror has the best internet connection to you. Usually ed.debian.org is a good choice. Debian archive mirror. 1. ftp.uk.debian.org. 2. free.hands.com. 3. debian.mirror.hands.net. 4. mirror.bitmap.co.uk. 5. mirror.positiveinternet.com. 6. ftp.is.debian.org. 7. deb.debian.org.
Now I'm going to use deb.debian.org because it's the official Debian mirror.
7.
And I don't rely on any external mirror sources. You can change those later when we install the Gnome software package. I'm going to go click enter.
If you need to use a HTTP proxy to access the outside world, enter the proxy information here. Otherwise, leave this blank. The proxy information should be given in the standard.
Now, we're not going to be using proxies, so I'm going to press enter. And now we wait for the installation to finish.
33%.
And it's finalizing our installation. Because at this point we've only got our Debian system fully installed, we've just got no bootloader, and it's configuring our software index. Which means we can download software once the installation is complete. Now I'm sorry that
41%.
I'm sorry that no one can see me because I have weird camera angles. But since
50%, 61%, 70%.
Geez, this is going quick. Since most of the people wanting
82%.
Since people wanting to install Debian with speech are visually impaired,
94%, 100%.
It probably makes sense to those. But I'm
installing grub bootloader.
But I'm describing everything as we go along so that you can catch up if you are if you want to install this yourself. Okay, so it's installing Grub, the bootloader. And once all this is sorted, we'll be able to boot into our new Debian system and log in and check out some of the software packages that we have by default. And just like we do on every other Linux installation video, and just like I've done in every other Linux installation video since the Accessible Coconut video that I did back in last year. Now, as I said before, it's been a year since I started using Linux, and I've been wanting to do a Debian installation video for quite some time now, since I've fallen in love with Debian before my birthday. And for all the people who are behind Debian, thank you for making such a brilliant operating system. I like to use it a lot, and it's a really stable operating system. I mean, the clue is in the name. Debian stable is, in fact, stable and will run really well on old software. I mean, old hardware.
33%, 50%.
Hardware. So, our grub installation is being finalised. So it's going to install that. Now, again, I can't stress enough, this does take some waiting. So, again, you can take a quick break until you see another dialog box pop up or another prompt. Of all the Linux distributions I have ever used, I have to say that
66%.
This installer is probably one of the best Linux installers around. It's the... yeah, it is. It's the number one.
83%. 100%. Finishing the installation. 3%.
My number one favourite installer. The second one is the Anaconda installer. Oh, Avast again.
Avast. Rekindle your device's performance with 55% off. Our Valentine's Day sale is here to sweep.
I have to stop that for a sec. Don't install Avast on Windows. Your operating system can take care of itself.
Notifier for Gmail from notification emails.avast.com. Title: Rekindle your device's performance with 50.
I'm going to move that to my spam emails later. But a word of advice, use Windows Defender. You don't need third-party antivirus on your system. And when you look at how Windows Defender has come on, then yeah, Windows Defender is pretty solid. And
12%, 21%.
And there is more. Windows Defender detects more malware than Avast does. I mean, I've purposefully tried to load some ransomware and it got rid of it in a flash. Avast hardly did a single thing.
30%, 33%.
It just goes to show that Microsoft make better security software. But we're changing the subject. Let's get back to the focus of the installation. So we left off with the grub installation, and Debian is just finalizing our grub installation. This video isn't about which antivirus is best, it's about Debian, which quite frankly doesn't need an antivirus. In fact, you don't need one for Linux anyway, if you just stick to using the software repositories and software that you trust. It's doing things the Debian way. And that reminds me as well of another reason why I like Debian. The articles in the Debian wiki are so informative. It's the #1 place I go for help with Debian, because there's just so many great articles. I have never, not once in my 1 year of using Linux have I seen a team so dedicated to its distribution that they write a lot of good stuff to help new users.
42%. Finish the installation. Installation complete. Installation is complete, so it is time to boot into your new system. Make sure to remove the installation media so that you boot into the new system rather than restarting the installation. Press enter to continue.
So now our installation is done.
45%, 51%.
It's getting ready to restart our computer. As I was saying, the only other distribution I know that's a lot like Debian is Arch Linux, because they've also got helpful articles as well. But nothing comes so close to Debian. The people behind the Debian project and the Debian community at large are just absolutely exceptional. I mean, what other Linux distribution has such a perfect installer that just gets things done, quite frankly, there are none. There are no installers that are... the only good installers that I know are the Debian installer and the Fedora installer. And the new Arch install, the new Arch Linux installer. Ubiquity is, well, Ubuntu's installer, and I personally don't like it. And quite frankly, other installers just aren't accessible. Calamares is one of them. But for Debian, Calamares is for the sighted people who, well, Calamares can be used by the people who can actually see the screen, so they don't have to go through the steps that I'm doing. But it's good to know that you've got choice. So you've got Calamares and you've got the accessible installer. Now, this is actually finalising a few things. And then once done, it will boot into our new system. Don't even think about turning off your computer or removing the installation media. You'll know when your PC is restarting, because if your speakers support it, you'll get a beep, which brings you to a grub screen, but if you let go of that, Debian should boot independently. And if you're installing in VirtualBox, you won't get a beep. So, take note. I guess while we're waiting for the installation, let's summarise what we've just done. Upon booting the installation media, we've heard 2 beeps. To boot with speech enabled, press the down arrow key 5 times and then press enter. Select the language, keyboard and region. Select your network interface. After you've set up your network interface, set up your domain name, host name and users. After that is sorted, start partitioning your disks. And once you've got all the partitioning out of the way, you'll have to wait until the system is completely installed to choose a mirror region. This supplements the software that you're able to download. Once all that is done, you'll next be asked if you want to set up a proxy. Leave it blank if you're not going to be using one, and then, after all that is done, simply wait for grub to be installed, and then here we are now, waiting for our system to be restarted after we've been notified that the installation was a success. So it's just putting the last few stuff together. Now, if you've got an SSD, this is going to take a lot quicker. But because this computer's got a hard drive, yeah. So what's next, you may be asking? Well, we'll be setting up our system the way we want to, and let me just close that door if it's not already closed. Okay, now we can concentrate. So, guess all that's left to do is sit there and wait. I'm going to pause. I'm going to pause right now until we actually get some activity.
Talkback on. Zoom 0. Switch to stop record. Pause. Pause. Talkback off.
Did I just sit around doing nothing for a few minutes? You betcha I did, because Debian is installed and it's now booting up. That took a heck of a long time. So now we should get a login screen. So we wait for Debian to finish booting up.
OK, started software speech output for speaker.
And we've got speech during the installation. But this is actually loading our display manager because we installed a desktop. So let's wait a bit. This is only just being installed.
Screen reader on.
And here we go, Oka is enabled for us. So now, we wait for everything to load, and this should load our login screen.
Text. Enter your username.
Okay, now we can actually log on to our system. So I'm going to log on right now.
JORDAN. Return. Password text. Bullet. Bullet.
And log in. Now this may be, you may have performance decrease because the system has just been installed. So it needs to sort everything out.
Screen reader on.
But here we are inside Debian. And let me just make sure I can get to the desktop.
Icon view.
Here we are, here is our Debian desktop. Now what I'm going to do is, well actually before I do all that, I'm going to set up my screen reader the way I want to have it, like I usually do.
Screen reader preferences dialog. General tab. Keyboard tab. Progress bar updates panel. Speak update tab. Braille update tab. Beep update space. Tick break speak keyboard general page. Voice. Speech page tab. Enable tab. Verbos tab. None.
No punctuation.
Enable speech page. Braille page tab. Left. Key echo page tab. Enable key echo checkbox ticked space. Not ticked tab. Enable echo by character space. Tab. Enable echo by word check space. Tick tab. Enable echo by sender. Enable key echo page tab. Key bindings page tab left cancel tab. OK return. Screen reader settings reloaded.
And our screen reader has been configured. Now, what we're going to want to do is, well, I'm going to remove my Ethernet cable.
Notification disconnected. The network connection has been disconnected.
Because now we no longer need our Ethernet. Because we can actually set up Wi-Fi here. So, okay, how am I going to do this? This is not the right way to be holding a laptop. Okay, okie dokie.
Talkback on. Camera. 0 out. Lens. Switch to stop recording button. Double tap to talkback off.
Now for the final step. Connecting ourselves to the internet and installing a few packages. And getting ourselves set up. Now, our Wi-Fi icon. Hang on a sec. Where did I put the computer? At this point, we can actually remove our installation media if you want to. So I'm going over to the computer's position so that I can use it.
Bottom panel, top panel.
And our Wi-Fi icon is usually on our top panel of the Mate desktop. Usually by pressing Ctrl Alt and Tab, you can get to it.
Places, menu bar, notification, Wi-Fi networks available. Use the network.
And look at that, we've got Wi-Fi networks available.
Application accessories.
Oh, that goes to our applications.
Desktop, bottom panel, top panel, menu bar, places, panel notification, sound out icon. Connect, create VPN, connect, create, VPN, connect to hidden Wi-Fi network. VPN, create, connect, talk of now, BT Wi-Fi, VPN, create, VPT9, BTW port 5N.
There we go.
Top panel frame, Wi-Fi network.
Type in my network password.
Show, password. Show path cancel connect.
And hopefully, fingers crossed, we're connected.
Desktop. Icon view. Notification disconnected. The network connection has been disconnected. Desktop. Icon view. New line. Jordan at Debian.
That other one you've just heard was my Google Home. Telling me I had a reminder.
We trust you have received the usual lecture from the local system.
Let's see if we can actually do a sudo apt update.
0% working. 1 http://debian.org/debian.
Let me just check our network isn't down. Hey Google. I hope there's nothing wrong with our Ethernet, with our Wi-Fi. So let me just restart my system. Because that was unable to retrieve packages. It probably helps if I remove my USB. Doesn't help that this hard drive is fragmented.
Screen reader on.
Because Cloud Ready is a fragmented operating system.
Text. Enter your username JORDAN. Return. Password. Wallet.
Well, the good thing about Linux file systems is they defragment themselves, so you don't really need defrag software for Linux. So I'm going to restart I've just restarted my system, just to clear anything that's getting in the way of things.
Screen reader on.
Right, do we have internet now? Let me open a terminal.
Jordan at Debian DFE. Sudo. 0% working. Hit :1 http://debian.org/debian bullseye release get :2 http security.
Yay, we've got internet. Now, what I suggest you go ahead and do now is install Gnome software. Sudo apt install Gnome dash software.
Reading package lists. Done building dependency tree. 0%. 5. Done. Building dependency tree. Done reading state information. Done. The following additional packages will be installed. Apt tree apt config icons g1.y. 0% working. Get :1 http dev.debian.org/debian bullseye/main AMD64 lit 0 d AMD64 2.1.0-1 119 KB 0% 1 lit 0 d ### 6 8% 9:9% SS 10% 1% 11% press 12% 3%, 14%, 5, 7, 9%, 2%, 23%, 4, 24, 9%, 9%.
Now it's installing everything.
1,
Don't be scared of using the command line every now and then.
43%, 4, 6, 8%, 9, 51%, 2, 3%, 4%, 5, 6%, 7, 8%, 9%, 60, 2%, 3,
I don't know what's
4%,
taking this so long.
6%, 7%, 8, 9%, 71, 2%, 3%, 4, 5%, 6, 7%, 8%, 9, press, 79%. Creating config file /etc/app/app.conf.d/50 unattended upgrades with new version. Created symlink /etc/system d/c d.
Yeah, this computer isn't particularly good. That's why it can't run Windows.
New line. Progress. 99%.
But our
Service right pointing arrow /lib/system d/system /unattended upgrades service dot. Synchronizing state of unattended upgrades service with sysv service script with /lib/system d/system d/sysv install. Executing /lib/system d/system d/sysv install enable unattended upgrades. Setting up apt tree 0.14.4-1. D.
And we still don't have freedom to use our shell. But once we've installed GNOME software, we've got to configure a few extra repositories to make our experience a lot better. And then before the video ends, we're going to look at the packages, depending on how much charge I have on my phone.
New line. Progress. 99%. Synchronizing state of unattended upgrades service with sysv service script with /lib/system d/system d/sysv install. Executing. /lib/system d /system d sysp install enable unattended upgrades. Setting up app stream 0.14.4-1. App stream cache update completed successfully. Jordan at Debian $. Created symlink e command.
Okay, now we have freedom to use our system. Now,
Desktop.
now that we've got Gnome software installed,
Applicate.
we're going to go ahead and open it.
Off sound system car ff log make pack software. Desktop. Icon view. Applications menu. Welcome dialog. Welcome to software. Software lets you in.
Let that refresh, because that's going to refresh everything.
Software frame. Search toggle button.
And that didn't take too long, so we want to go over to the...
Installed top updates toggle menu toggle
we
button.
want to go over to this little menu here.
Panel. Software repositories push.
Click Software Repositories.
Menu
Here.
toggle button not pressed.
And this is where we can configure
Software and updates frame.
our software and
Debian
updates.
software page tab.
So Debian software.
Downloadable from the internet panel. Officially supported. Main checkbox tick.
That's what we want.
DFSG compatible software with non-free dependencies. Country checkbox not tick.
Enable this. Type in your administrator password as soon as you check this. Like so.
Software and updates frame. Debian software page tab. Downloadable from the internet panel. DFSG
And
non-DFSG compatible software. Non-free checkbox not tick.
enable that.
Ticked. Source code checkbox ticked.
Disable the source code repositories.
Main server combo. Installable from CD up revert push close push button.
Close that.
Dialog the informate close but reload push button.
And reload everything again.
Cache refresh frame. 53%. 1. Software frame. Menu toggle button not pressed.
And now that we've done all that, the last thing we're going to do as a treat is I'm going to show you all the applications that are installed by default on Debian. So let's start with our accessories.
Application.
I know I'm very enthusiastic.
Accessories.
So let's see what we've got.
Debian reference.
We've got Debian reference.
Entramper archive manager. Firmware. Keyboard layout newer. Mate calculator. Mate font newer. Mate search tool. Plumer. Take screenshot. Debian reference. Accessories menu.
Standard Mate tools.
Education menu.
Education
Golden Dict.
is Golden Dict.
Educate graphics menu. Mate image newer. GNU image manipulation program.
We've got GIMP.
LibreOffice Draw.
Can't have Linux.
Notification software updates available. Important OS and application updates are ready to be installed.
Yay, we've got updates. Hey. Now we've got
GNU LibreOffice Draw.
we've got GIMP, LibreOffice Draw.
Mate color selection.
You can't have Linux without GIMP.
Mate image newer. Graphic internet menu.
Now, unlike Ubuntu, this doesn't have choppy audio when you boot it up.
Firefox ESR.
So our internet, we've got Firefox. Just standard Firefox ESR.
In Office menu.
And here we're going to find LibreOffice.
Golden Dict. LibreOffice. LibreOffice Cal. LibreOffice Draw. LibreOffice Impress. LibreOffice Math. LibreOffice Writer. Mate Dictionary. Office menu.
The good old applications in LibreOffice.
Sound.
Now, our sound only has our sound settings. Debian have made it so that you can install a media player of your choice if you're using the Mate desktop.
Subsystem tools menu.
Our system tools is populated by this.
Carger. FZX 5. Log FZX 5. Log file view. Mate disk image mounter. Mate disk usage analyzer. Mate system monitor. Mate terminal. Multilingual terminal. Power statistics. Software.
And software is what we installed earlier.
Exterm.carger. Accessories menu. System admin Synaptic Package Manager.
And we've just got Synaptic.
Control preference hardware interlook other menu. FZX dictionary editor. FZX5 configuration. FZX5 migration wizard. FZX configuration. iBus references. Input method. Mosque setup. Software and updates. And the dictionary editor.
And that's it.
Software frame.
Our system is completely set up. We can do whatever we want with our system now because we've installed everything. This video certainly felt like a long one to me anyway, because I had to sit through the entire installation and the entire setup. But now it's all over and I can finally have a rest. Thank heaven for that.
Talk back on. Camera. 1 hour 9. Lens. 1 hour 9 minutes.
Wow, I've been filming
1
for
hour 9 minutes.
an hour?
Switch to front. Stop recording. Button.
That's crazy, man.
Double tap to activate.
I've been filming for an hour. Oh, man. Anyway, without me going off on a tangent, let me just say this before I start laughing hysterically. This is Jordan signing off saying have a good day, everyone.